G'day. My name's Andrew Vanderstock. I'm the Executive Director of OWASP. We help run the back end of the foundation. We support chapters, projects, and events. And I'm very pleased to say today that we've got John from Rootio AI. John, tell us about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me on, Andrew. I really appreciate it. We're big supporters of OWASP and love the mission you guys are on. Appreciate what you do for the security community at large. I'm John Amaral, CEO and CTO and co-founder of Root.io. We are a company that focuses on helping organizations fix vulnerabilities in their container images. We build a solution called Automated Vulnerability Remediation. Basically, we can patch any container image and make it vulnerability free, which gives organizations a fast and easy and low effort way to make container images go to zero vulnerabilities, reduce their risk surface, all the good things when you don't have your software full of vulnerabilities.
And I know that in the OWASP community, there's plenty of entrepreneurs wanting to start their own firms. How did Root.io get going? Tell us about the history of Root.io.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm one of four co-founders for Root.io. We have an entrepreneurial background and kind of serially have built companies in cybersecurity. So we've done it before. We're pretty good at building cyber companies and building good products and having those companies be successful. Again, it's not our first rodeo here as far as building companies. Now, in general, why did we start it? That's like one of the big questions. Myself and several of my co-founders have, specifically my co-founder and CEO, Ian, worked at Cisco. We came to Cisco because they acquired a company we were at prior called CloudLock. It was a CASB vendor. And we were a part of running some functions inside of Cisco. I was the head of product for Cisco Cloud Security, which is a very big division of that company. I was responsible for some of their fastest moving products, some of their fastest growing products. And we ran into challenges in securing the underlying software. I mean, OWASP is all about helping folks do AppSec better, and AppSec is a super important concept now, given the state of where applications are in cloud native and all that. So at the core of it, we struggled to do, I'll call it vulnerability management and remediation very well in some of our core products. I recognized this was something that was actually hurting our business and was something I thought we should do better at. And after about 4 or 5 years of running that business, I decided that it was a difficult enough problem and an important enough problem that I wanted to go out and solve it as a company. And we did. That's the origins of Root. Really a mission to help organizations do better at making vulnerability-free software.
Yeah, that's cool. I know it's a hard slog being a startup, finding funding and making sure that you actually get something out the door before you run out of money. Right. So would you have any advice for people who want to get going and creating their own product?
Yeah, so the idea and the team are principal and foundational for building great companies. So first of all, choose wisely with who you plan to build a company with. Make sure that those people you can work with them and that they are contributing at a high level and they complement you and you complement them. Teams are best in this state when you find people that are like-minded and have similar kind of cultural and cultural values and similar views on the world, but not so much so that you think the same. You want to have complementary thought that challenges you, and you want to have people that you really enjoy working with because you're in it together all the time. You said it's a slog. I think that's a great way to look at it. It's every day, all the time, in the trenches, trying to figure out how to do it. So building any new company or any product is difficult. You want to do it with the right people. So choose wisely on the people side. On the product side, it's super important that you test and iterate fast on vetting your idea because, again, the core idea is what drives the ultimate vision and value that you have, and you want to make sure that that's a value, that's an idea that is at once solving real problems that are relevant, but also proving out that people would be willing to pay for that. It's kind of a product market fit equation. I want to build a product that's valuable and I want to make sure I can sell it. You got to find that out right away, as fast as possible, simplest and easiest way possible. And I think it's super important to be basically in selling mode from day one. This idea of I'm going to build a product and then figure out how to sell it doesn't work. You got to do it together. Product market fit is all about like how valuable is the solution you're building and how much does it solve a problem for a user. At the same time, it's something like how interesting and exciting is that product, like how much people believe they need it. And that combination is what makes that equation. And the third biggest part about raising money is it's not one size fits all. I happen to have built companies before and been plugged into the venture capital community, and we're kind of a proven entity in some ways that make raising capital for us, we know how to do it, I should say. And we have investors who are in it with us. For new companies, and especially in today's market, depending upon what segment you're in, it can be hard to raise money. The economy is not what it was in 2021 when it was super easy to raise. Find people who can assist you in mentoring and getting access to these kind of venture capital firms or wherever you want to get your investment from. And I would say have a bootstrap mentality, meaning like, the more you can bring foundational evidence that your product is going to be good, and then the more you can get users, the more likelihood you are to get funding. So it's a weird chicken and egg game, right? Like the more I can prove that my product is good and then people want it, the more likely I am to get funded. So really spend that time in the product evolution. Try to get customers who speak for you. When customers speak for you or users speak for you or interested parties, it's way more valuable than when you speak for yourself. It's tangible. Yeah, those are my three kind of basic advices.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because one of the things that the board has been looking at is ways of funding OWASP projects, and we've been looking at various models, including spinning out companies. Defect Dojo is one that comes to mind, that those guys have been highly successful at raising funds and establishing themselves in the marketplace. And so we do encourage our project leaders, if they think that they can help them to go to the next level, to go down this path. And we'll fully support that as long as, we have some sort of arrangement that it's not just like the product becomes a dead product once you become a company. Right. So we've had a few projects that have gone off the rails from the open source part. What we'd like to see is that the spin-off company supports the open source version, like a freemium version or something like that, that builds value for both parts. But we'll get around to that. So how did Root.io get involved with OWASP? You've been a huge supporter of us for a long time, and thank you so much for that. But how did Root.io get involved with OWASP?
First of all, I think OWASP is a fantastic organization that I want to support. It starts from my appreciation for your mission and for the work you've done over the years. I've been involved with OWASP for a long time, not just at Root, but in other organizations. The work you've done with app security and the OWASP top 10, and for years, back in my TrustWave days, we bought a WAF company, and we used to spend a lot of time thinking about OWASP research work and how to help our customers solve for those. And it was then I realized that this is an organization that has a really awesome podium to work from in helping the world figure out how to secure applications. Your projects to me are fantastic. I've had a lot of chance to interact with many of the founder of the leaders of those projects. Steve Springett with Dependency Track and CycloneDX comes to mind. Visionary people in our industry who have a really drive and purpose to bring value to cybersecurity. So I think it's an immense and good work you do. I admire that. I love cybersecurity. I've been in it for 20 plus years, and I feel like I have a purpose and a mission doing the work that I do and solving real problems for real people and making the world a safer place, as do you guys. So kudos to you for such a great run. Now, in more practical terms, as it relates to Root, we build a solution that patches vulnerabilities in container images, right? And one of the ways we integrate and show people the work we've done through our patches is to produce VEX statements, and we use CycloneDX VEX statements for that. And we make SBOMs in CycloneDX format. We believe that for many reasons, the richness of the format and the support that project gives in OWASP for the richness and I'd say the breadth of capabilities in CycloneDX made it a natural choice for us to be the first way that we convey security facts and package facts to our customers. It's got a lot of people accept CycloneDX, so it's become an interoperability and inter-exchange opportunity for us to do it in a way that I think people understand and value. So that was one thing that was critical as we built our product, to make sure that we were producing and consuming things in the CycloneDX format. The second thing is folks that care about managing vulnerabilities to the point where they would use our solution to reduce them to zero, like we give an easy button. Those same types of people are working with Dependency Track to make sure that they understand their software supply chains and they're cataloging and organizing their vulnerabilities. So another natural project that we get involved with and are interested in and I think can benefit is the Dependency Track project as well. So, I think very relevant projects. You know what you're getting with an OWASP project. They're well cared for. They provide value. They have vibrant communities. The leaders are super engaged and driven. It's a class act organization that provides good value to the world. And supporting it to me means just really helping propel AppSec globally, and then of course aligning with these important projects that our users depend on. So I think it's win-win all around, and I'm pleased to be an ardent supporter.
Excellent. I really appreciate the fact that Root.io uses OWASP internally, and you guys have actually found value in our projects. Those two projects made flagship very easily, and for good reason. The entire teams behind them are amazing. We're starting to get into a lot of AI stuff. I was wondering, is there any sort of place for Root.io's products line to start doing AI things, or is this sort of like a thing that you're thinking about but can't release to the market just yet?
We use AI deeply in our company, both as a core of our products and in, I'd say, every aspect of our business operation. We're an AI-first company that has recognized and embraced the use of AI for years now. And in general, I will tell you that it has a very important use. We build, as I mentioned earlier, we build a solution that can patch container images. And we patch those images through a combination of finding compatible and low breakage possibility upgrades that live out in the ecosystems that we patch. But we also generate our own backported patches that we build in our software factory. We have two components to our system: a SaaS platform that does the work of patching and connects to your registries, etc. And then we have a software factory that our research team runs and our engineering team runs that creates new novel patches that didn't exist before. We use an agentic system to do that work. So it turns out that we found a way to make agents very good at finding, analyzing, researching, and creating backported patches for virtually any Debian, Ubuntu, Alpine, Python, you name it. And that is powering the core of our product right now. There's other opportunities to go further. We know that integrations into AI ecosystems using things like MCP server technology is a way that organizations could also integrate with our system. Today, our system integrates through registry connections and CI/CD pipelines, but I think the next generation of AI to software interface through MCP is a way that others can use AI to instruct our product on what to do and further orchestrate in their environments. So, yeah, lots of interesting things and exciting things on the horizon for AI. We build it into the core of our technology.
And because your product deals with the supply chain, I want to throw an additional question in just before we go. We've seen recently with Golang, there's a bunch of modules that turned out to be hostile. We've had that with Node for years. We've had that with other platforms for years. Do you think that there is a responsibility by the people who maintain these packages, like the actual, like the directories like NPM and whatnot, to vet packages to make sure that they're not hostile, like run them in a sandbox before they get into the actual, like, what Google does and what Apple does? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. I think that's $1 million question. A really, really seminal question. At its heart, right, it's about who's responsible for safe distribution or consumption of software, right? Again, this is a really complex question, and the answer is not easy. So most of the open source folks who generate the software, they're doing this as a passion project, right? They're building software that excites them, and they don't get paid to do it. So OWASP is largely an organization that relies on the generosity and passion of countless individuals to deliver on the projects that you do in general, especially on the open source side for sure. And I think if you look up and down the supply chain, right, I think first of all we have to find a way to create a incentive system, some sort of monetization system or something that makes it possible and maybe even lucrative for us to do a little bit better job at securing the supply chain up and down, right? I think there are some challenging incentive problems that drive kind of the way we are today. Now, that said, I think largely, right, open source software has been an incredibly secure thing. If you think about Linux, it's and attackers will attack, right? So I think certainly I'd love to see companies like GitHub and others who, GitHub is where all the open source lives, right? There's a few places, but that's one of them, and a lot of open source lives. I'd love to see some way for that, and they do a lot of this with Dependabot and others, to make it easier for open source curators to vet their code and do a little bit better job with supply chain security. I know they've invested in signing, and I think it's getting better. So I think there is an opportunity for these kind of like highly influential central organizations to make it easy. And I think it could get easier if we integrated better and we made the tools available. If you made it just super simple, again, always give developers make the right path the easiest path for developers, and then they do it, right? If you take them off their path and make it some new departure, they won't do it. So I think we're not yet at a state in the industry where it's just easy to do the right thing, and the powers that be, especially those with all this access and control, we should try to get the open source infrastructure, especially for free, to be more secure. I would love to see that. That may be a really great way to do this. And then I think it's also incumbent on people who benefit from open source by building products on it, like us. Like I give back to OWASP. We try and give security back to the organizations with our patches, et cetera, back to the ecosystems. I think people who make a lot of money on using open source to build their businesses should give something back. And certainly they should figure out how to vet this stuff themselves in a way that's scalable and invest in products that do it. But there's just such asymmetry in like who's benefiting from open source monetarily and who's creating open source. So there's an equation imbalance there that I think needs to happen. Again, it's a really big and open question you did, but we could all do better, and I think we all have to do our part to do better. And there's a lot of actors in this system.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember I was learning Node.js a little while ago for a project that I do for my game. Bringing in just a few dependencies brings in hundreds of modules, and there's no way you can validate those. So I do, there's got to be some sort of level of automation. I do believe that, GitHub and other places do have a place to play in that. That's fair comment.
With AI, there's a hope that doing this kind of scaled code evaluation and anomaly can be easier, but by the same token, that same technology can be used to hide things and do more harm by the bad guys. So we're in this. I think what we'll see is this kind of arms race of sorts that's accelerated by AI, which can make everything go faster. So I think it's an interesting future to predict and perhaps observe.
Yeah, absolutely. In closing, how could Rootio and OWASP projects work more closely together? I mean, you've already mentioned two of them, but we have a lot of projects. We actually do have projects that are deliberately insecure. Let's rule those ones out for a little bit. We've got many other projects that are designed.
So I have a very simple one. I'm making an offer to the OWASP users and the dependency track users. I will offer for free perpetuity to let dependency track users and maybe even other OWASP projects. I'm happy to do this with all of them, by the way, to have access to my platform to get zero vulnerability dependency track images. You can just use them, and I will support you and make it available as a benefit to the community. When you look on Docker Hub for OWASP for dependency track images, and I run them as images, and lots of people run them as container images, there's residual vulnerabilities. That team does a really good job, by the way, securing things. Steve and co are doing a great job, but always new vulnerabilities come, right? And it's hard to keep up with it. That's what our product does. That's what our SaaS service does. Folks who use dependency track, and I'm again willing to offer this to more projects, can just sign up and they can get these images fully secured by us anytime, and we'll never charge them for those images.
I really appreciate that.
I would love to work with you and the other projects to make that offer ubiquitous. So if people are using container images for security tools like dependency track, we'd like those tools to be as secure as possible. They can use our service to make that happen.
Awesome.
I would love to do that and help people figure out how to use that.
Awesome. I'll follow up with you afterwards and we'll figure it out. Any last words in closing?
No, just keep up the good work, OWASP. It's a fabulous organization. Pleasure to work with you folks, and you are a great example of good people doing good things, and cyber's better for it. So I appreciate it very much.
I appreciate you guys as well. Thank you so much for being a long-term supporter of OWASP.
Thanks again.
Thank you.